FM. In addition, today, as always, you can also find us on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and City Cable 15 in Southfield on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. Find us also live from 10 to noon every day, Monday through Friday, in Waterford on the Media Network of Waterford on Channel 10 and also on Channel 10. Live to tape at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the morning as well for you night birds in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television, or ONTV. Find us also on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1 the Biff Radio Network, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. And find us online in many different places. Boy, do we have options for you online. CivicCenterTV.com. That's our number one spot. That's where to find all the information you need on COVID-19, on the Megacast, and be able to watch us live Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, as well as throughout the afternoons, evenings, and weekends for replays at CivicCenterTV.com. Find us live every day, 10 to noon, via Facebook Live on Facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and on Facebook.com/LakesFM. You can also find us on My Michigan TV, otherwise known as MyMy, by visiting their website, MyMyTV.com, MyMyTV.com, where you'll learn more information about all of their original programming and their imported programming, all about the state of Michigan from creators all across the Great Lakes state. Be able to watch us live and find more information on where you can download their free smart TV and smartphone apps, mymytv.com, or visit our website at civiccentertv.com. Click on our Megacast link where we have links to all the web pages of every single one of our partnering stations that join us every day, so you can learn more information about everything that they do in the other 22 hours of the day that they're not joining us here on the Megacast. Also on our website, head over to the coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus for up-to-date information on COVID-19 linked to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division. Keep yourself informed on what's going on with COVID-19. Yes, the case numbers aren't as crazy as they've been in the past with the Omicron variant, with the Delta variant in previous surges. We're in a bit of a lull in COVID-19, but we're not quite done with this pandemic just yet. There could be more surprises to come, and if there are, you're going to want to keep up to date on all of that information from experts on the front lines, from trusted resources that know what they're talking about and can at least lead you to articles that you can read in full and get the information for yourself. It's not necessarily saying you have to take everything that the CDC or the MDHHS or the Oakland County Health Division is taking for their word as gospel. However, if you want that information, you've got to get it from reliable sources. They have reliable sources. That's where they're getting their information from. Some of it they're generating themselves through their own research. That's where you want to start. CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus. Right at the top of the page will take you to each and every one of those pages, as well as some information from some of our local municipalities here in Oakland County, as their rules and regulations regarding COVID-19 safety protocols will continue to change as well. Also on our coronavirus page, you scroll down just a little bit beyond those links, and we'll have our top articles making headlines across the Great Lakes state every single day. We link to articles from journalistic outlets all across Michigan to keep you informed on everything that's making news here in Michigan. Our first story today from our friends at the Detroit Free Press: Michigan gas prices have set a new 2022 record, and they're likely to continue to keep climbing. Again, this is from the Detroit Free Press. Gas prices hit $4 a gallon in Metro Detroit and soared even higher in the Upper Peninsula early on Monday, surging an average of 42 cents in Michigan in just a week and setting a new calendar high for this year. But brace yourselves, that likely won't be the worst of it, at least for a while. Quote, rising crude oil prices sent Michigan pump prices soaring to the highest price since June of 2013, said Adrian Woodland, spokesperson for AAA Auto Club, which tracks gas prices. Woodland continued on by saying, quote, pump prices will likely continue to rise as crude prices continue to climb as well. The war between Russia and Ukraine is mostly to blame, as it continues to bring uncertainty to the market. Inflation also pushed prices upward as the world uses more oil, and on top of that, oil production globally has tightened. The average price in the state in the state on Monday for regular unleaded gasoline was $3.97 per gallon, according to AAA. That's 60 cents more than this time last month and $1.25 more than this time 1 year ago. In terms of fill-ups, you'll pay about $59 for a full 15-gallon tank. The average national gas price was $4.01 per gallon. The highest prices have been in Michigan at $4.26 in May of 2011. On Tuesday, for instance, the Marathon gas station at Hilton and 10 Mile in Ferndale in Oakland County was selling regular gas for $3.58 per gallon. By Friday, that price at the same station jumped 30 cents to $3.88 per gallon. Total domestic gasoline stocks decreased by 500,000 barrels of crude oil to 246 million, according to the Energy Information Administration. Gasoline demand increased slightly from 8.66 million barrels per day to 8.74 million barrels per day. An increase in gas demand combined with the reduction in total supply is contributing to price increases. Basic supply and demand. More demand, less supply, the prices are going to go up because the need is greater. Oil prices surged above $100 a barrel for the first time since 2014 after Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24th. On Monday, West Texas Intermediate, a grade of crude oil and oil pricing benchmark, was $123.15 per barrel. The most expensive places for gas in Michigan are Marquette at $4.07 a gallon, Metro Detroit $4 a gallon, as well as in Benton Harbor at $4 a gallon. The least expensive gasoline in the state is in Traverse City, $3.86 a gallon, Grand Rapids $3.93 a gallon, and Ann Arbor at $3.94 per gallon. To help, the IEA has coordinated a release of 60 million barrels of crude oil from its 31 member countries in strategic reserves, including the United States, Germany, Canada, South Korea, and Mexico. The announcement did not detail the amount of each contribution from each country, but half of the release, about 30 million barrels, is expected to come from the United States. Still, it likely will have a limited effect on the prices at the pump, given the amount of oil is small in comparison to the amount of oil that flows daily from Russia around the globe. Russia exports about 5 million barrels of crude oil per day, about 12% of global trade. To save at the pump, here are a few tips from personal finance columnist Susan Tumper from the Detroit Free Press to save on gas. Number one, the obvious, drive less. It's common sense, but you might be surprised how much it actually adds up. Use a mobile app to comparison shop. Gas Buddy, Gas Guru, and AAA all have apps. Pay with cash. Many stations offer a deal on cash-only sales as opposed to credit or debit. Join a warehouse club like Costco or Sam's Club, which generally sells gas at a slight discount, but a discount nonetheless. Enroll in gas rewards programs like Get Upside and Kroger Fuel Points. Some credit cards also offer special gas discounts and cash back for gasoline purchases. All of those tips, as well as supporting materials from the Detroit Free Press and that article on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Some good news in Michigan, also from Bridge, Michigan. Michigan is closing the gap on racial disparities in COVID-19 deaths. In the earliest days of the pandemic, African Americans in Michigan represented 4 of every 10 COVID-19 deaths, a startling number given that they make up 14% of the state population. The tragic trend took advantage of the health disparities afflicting communities of color. Black people are more likely to suffer from heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and other ailments that made them more susceptible to COVID-19. Now, nearly 2 years after the beginning of the pandemic, those disparities have nearly vanished, with black people now at 18% of all COVID-19 deaths. That's still above their makeup within the state, and it's half the rate from the pandemic's early days. According to the new report from the statewide task force created to address racial disparities related to COVID-19, state and local health leaders worked with public health professionals to change behaviors to protect entire communities. Quote, "We felt we had no choice but to act," said Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist on Friday at a press conference to announce the report and its findings. Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, who led the task force, said he lost 27 family members and friends to COVID-19. Quote, "Michigan families were losing brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, cousins, teachers, students, and grandparents, and communities of color cannot afford for us to wait, end close quote. Gilchrist and others said the task force focused on encouraging people early in the pandemic, long before vaccinations, to wear masks and social distance. They specifically reached out to people in exposed occupations like public transportation employees who had to work in person and were often face-to-face with dozens of people per day. Thomas Stallworth, a senior advisor to Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who directed the task force, said the state talked with employers and explained the importance of masking and other preventative measures to benefit their employees. Quote, they had to take steps to protect their folks, and they did, said Stallworth. Those efforts appeared to work. Also, a survey taken by the state in 2020 showed that African Americans were far more likely to wear masks. The survey showed 81% were quote-unquote always wearing them, compared to 69% of the rest of the population, according to the report. Those changes may have helped change the arc of the pandemic. Through August of 2020, the black population comprised 39.2% of COVID deaths, according to Bridge, Michigan's analysis of state demographic COVID-19 data. Since then, they've comprised 13.9%, almost exactly their proportion within the state's overall population. That's despite black people having the lowest rate of vaccination in the state. While 53% of white residents have completed their vaccination, only 40% of black people are fully vaccinated, according to state data. The unvaccinated account for over 80% of COVID-19 deaths since January 1st of last year. Stallworth said the task force is continuing to work to improve vaccinations among minority populations who have cited distrust in medicine among a host of reasons why they have not been vaccinated. In addition to noting steps already taken, like promoting masks and vaccines and helping more people connect with doctors, the task force has also made recommendations that would continue improving health prospects for communities of color. Among its recommendations, the task force calls for lowering the number of people who are uninsured or underinsured because the uninsured are less likely to have health conditions treated, making them more susceptible to COVID-19. Continuing to fund neighborhood vaccination and testing sites as well, providing easier access. Maximizing use of school-based clinics. The state started a pilot program with the Detroit Public Schools Community District to offer vaccinations to students with parental consent, and improving access to high-speed internet. During the pandemic, many people stayed in contact with their healthcare providers via telemedicine. Access to high-speed internet also helping to dispel disparities in our communities in many other facets of our daily life as well. Lastly, good news on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Faith groups delivered housewarming gifts to resettled Afghan refugees in southeastern Michigan. This is from the Detroit News. Housewarming gifts traditionally are seen as tokens to add to a new place, but the ones headed to about 30 households in southeast Michigan over the weekend were a way not only to do that, but help families start over. On Saturday, members of the Dawid Boras community of Detroit and regional congregations under Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints joined the nonprofit Zaman International to deliver welcome kits to Afghan refugees resettling in the local region. The volunteers fanned out across Washtenaw County with food, silverware, bedding, and more for the new residents finding their first homes since fleeing Afghanistan. The act was both a show of community generosity and a pledge to give back, coordinators said. Quote, it shows the power of groups that are able to come together, said Monica Boomer, Chief Impact Officer at Zaman. Quote, as individual congregations, they're able to do so much, but it just grows exponentially when they all come together, closed quote. Her group, which is based in Wayne County and officially launched as a nonprofit in 2004, has long collaborated with others to serve the less fortunate and are known for their efforts. In addition to programs providing food, clothing, medications, and shelter, Zaman last year worked with the agencies overseeing refugees headed to Michigan from Afghanistan once the military and government fell to the Taliban and American troops departed. The state was assigned to receive more than 1,600 refugees through last month, with most of them in southeastern Michigan or in Metro Detroit. The 30 households presented housewarming gifts on Saturday represents nearly 100 people, including children, according to Boomer. Between 40 and 50 volunteers helped deliver the gifts, said Zainab Hashem, a volunteer with Zaman International who helped load vehicles on Saturday. Hashem said, quote, I think it was an amazing turnout. We had things ranging from household items like can openers to towels, pots and pans, pillows, and more, close quote. out. I hope this serves as a big impact, especially with Ramadan coming next month. Hopefully these items will be of utilization for these families so they can prepare their food and use it as a means of having dinner every night. This is a great article. You're going to want to read more about this heartwarming story from southeastern Michigan about those in our community helping Afghan refugees who are now joining our community as well. That article, as well as all of our articles from today's edition of the Megacast on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. We have a great Oakland County hour coming up for you here on the Megacast. Next, I'll be joined by Robert Boyle, the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan. He will join me coming up next. At the bottom of the hour, we'll be joined by the Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit, Lori Ward. We'll talk about their programs as well as some upcoming fundraising opportunities. Then in the Michigan Megacast hour, Melanie Duquesnel will kick off that hour at 11 o'clock. We'll be talking about charity scams, something that's going to continue to be more of a problem here in Michigan and across the U.S. and around the world as people are wanting to provide aid to those in Ukraine and fleeing Ukraine. More scams. People are going to take opportunities to be terrible people while others are trying to be good people. At 11:20, we'll be joined by Tanya Smik of the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee to talk about what she is hearing from those on the front lines in Ukraine to the committee here in southeastern Michigan, as well as what our local Ukrainian American population is thinking as the crisis in Ukraine continues on and continues to escalate. And we'll cap off the show at 11:40 with Rick Bloom from Bloom Advisors, talking taxes, talking investments, and more. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
a rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Learn more about the program by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information about all of our partnering community television and radio stations, as well as our web outlets such as My Michigan TV, and find all of our shows and each individual interview on demand, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now from the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan is their Executive Director, Robert Boyle, back with us once again on the Megacast. Robert, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, Tyler, great to be with you again.
Great to have you with us. So we've talked to the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan before. We've talked about this organization, but for those that are either tuning in for the first time or maybe missed that interview or have just never heard of your organization, give us an overview about what your organization does to support families here in Metro Detroit.
Sure. The Furniture Bank has a mission to provide beds and furniture to children and families in need. And that's really simple. This means that kids have warm beds to sleep in instead of having to sleep on a cold floor. This means that a family has a table that they can sit around to share a meal. And they can feel good about the home that they're living in. They can live with stability and dignity. We take furniture donations. That's a huge part of what we do. Is we take in furniture donations, and we have 2 trucks, 3 now, that are on the road 6 days a week, collecting from Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County. And then with the furniture that we get, we take in referrals from a network of 75 health and human service partners. And we're providing these items to families that are in poverty, transitioning from homelessness, working with child protective services, and fleeing crisis or abuse. You were just talking about, the refugee resettlement. And we've seen a real large influx of refugees that we've had to provide furniture for, that and flood victims too. So we're at a point right now, actually, Tyler, and this is one of the reasons why I'm with you today, where we're just not getting enough furniture to keep up with the need in the families that are being referred to us. So I hope that this will give us an opportunity to talk about what we do and hopefully get some more furniture for local folks in need.
Yeah, I just read an article that was associated with the organization that the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan currently are experiencing a 60% year-over-year increase in requests from furniture for local families. When did that surge start to really begin, and what are some of the factors that are behind such a dramatic increase? I mean, that's above 1.5 times what you had been doing before. That's 60%. That's significant.
Absolutely. So again, we've had refugees coming into the country from Afghanistan and other places. We may yet see folks from Ukraine that we would want to help as well. There were a series of floods that displaced a lot of Metro Detroiters. And, even though those happened in the summertime, by the time, they stay in motels for a while and get the resources they need to get back on their feet and into homes, months go by. As a matter of fact, we helped a family, a single mom with 4 kids, get a house full of furniture just in time for Christmas. So her family could, celebrate in a home and not just an empty house. But lastly, and really the largest contributing factor has been, the end of the eviction moratorium, which even though that ended back in September, by the time so many of the court systems have dealt with their backlogs, we're just now seeing just enormous volumes of referrals coming in a manner that, we haven't even hit our busy season yet. And we just don't have enough furniture for the families who are coming in and they need it. And you can donate furniture by calling us at 248-332-1300 or visiting our website at www.furniture-bank.org. And I can assure you, as soon as we get furniture from the Metro Detroit community, who's always been very generous with us, it's going to go right in the homes of a local family who absolutely needs it.
Again, furniture-bank.org is their website, furniture-bank.org, 248-332-1300, 248-332-1300 for more information or to donate your furniture to the organization. So a 60% increase in year-over-year need in furniture. Is that across the board and needs for general furniture for the home, or are there specific needs that are greater that you're finding, that your organization is finding as being that necessity for these families that are in need of this furniture?
Well, I would say one thing. We always need beds, and that is usable, gently used mattresses and box springs. Not all organizations take them, and as soon as we do, we spray them to make sure that, they've been sterilized and heaven forbid, don't pose any health risks. Bed bugs is a big thing, and we do spray all of our items to make sure that, we don't have any critters on them. But, on any given month, we're going to distribute between 80 and 100 dressers. Last year, we provided out about 1,100 dressers to families. Right now, we do not have a single dresser in our warehouse for families who need them. So if you have a dresser in good condition that you're not using, please call us at 248-332-1300 or visit furniture-bank.org to look into donating it, because there are local families that are in desperate need of these items.
We're joined by Robert Boyle, the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan, on the Megacast. Again, their phone number, 248-332-1300, 248-332-1300, or visit their website, furniture-bank.org, to learn more information. So you mentioned gently used. And that's kind of a subjective term. It's kind of eye to eye, whatever somebody's definition of gently used is. For your organization, as people are going through some of their furniture, they maybe are ready to get some new furniture and replace the one that they have, or they are just wanting to downsize and get rid of some of the furniture that they have. What should they be doing as they're gauging whether or not this is gently used, or this is worthy of donating to an organization such as yours? What should they be doing to do their own checks before they call you, before they go through the whole process and donate furniture that may or may not be usable?
So we're unable to accept, or we're not looking for items that are stained, torn, structurally damaged. I know that we have a dog that likes to jump on our sofa and cuddle with us. And that may not be an appropriate sofa for us to donate to an organization like the Furniture Bank. So we ask that the furniture is in good condition or usable condition. Many of us are blessed, and we're not getting rid of furniture because it's worn out. We just want something that's new or a different color or matches the way we just painted the walls. We ask that furniture is in good repair. And the main reason why we do that is we want the families who are coming to us to feel good about their homes. All the kids who receive beds from the Furniture Bank, and we give out about 800 beds to kids on an annual basis, we buy them new bedding. So they can feel good about the bed that they're sleeping in and get a healthy night's sleep and a healthy start in life, and hopefully do well in school. Most people, when they think of basic needs, Tyler, they think of food, clothing, and shelter. But if you close your eyes for a minute and you imagine what your home would be like without any furniture, and if you were just living in your house or apartment and with nothing more than a floor, ceiling, and walls, you would really appreciate just how difficult, how stressful it would be to live in an environment like that for days, weeks, months, or heaven forbid, years. And that's why we're here, because we want families to feel good about their home, to have a nurturing home that allows them to get gainful employment or obtain gainful employment, and their kids to have a good shot at doing well in school. And if you're living in just an empty shell of a house or an apartment, that's just not possible.
Yeah, I mean, if you really do think about it, you take the time and just put yourself in that experience, even for one night. I mean, I think about when I had first moved into the apartment I'm currently living in, and I had just gone over there to clean some things after move-in day and all of that, move a couple little things into the apartment initially. Ended up being quite a late night. I wasn't going to go back. I had been living with my dad before that, and so I had this chair that my grandparents had given me. It had a couple of cushions on it. I just put those cushions down on the ground, and I slept there for the night. And really, and I didn't really think much about it at the time, but talking to organizations like yours and others that are doing similar things or are talking about similar topics in terms of housing, in terms of basic necessities that we tend to overlook in our communities that are tend to be more fortunate or not really even ever thinking about being in these kinds of situations. You put yourself in that scenario and think about that not being one night, that not being a few nights or being a week, that being every day, every week, every night. And then you think about the kids, too, in these families that are also in that situation. And then they're going to school. The parents are working. you're not in a comfortable bed, you're not in a comfortable situation, even though you got a roof over your head, that affects other areas of your life. And that's all the more reason why it's so important, if you have the means to do so, that you're able to, that you donate your furniture, or you try to help people in our communities that are in need of these. So I want to talk through some process with you, Robert. If somebody, an individual or their family, are in a situation where they don't have furniture, they can't afford furniture for their home, and they need help from your organization's services, how can they go about doing that?
Well, if they can call us again in order to come to us, you need a referral. We get referrals from, say, Lighthouse of Oakland County Community Housing Network. Alternatives for Girls is a large referral partner. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services is also a human partner. So you get a referral this way. We know that those we're serving have been pre-screened for need, and they're working with human service professionals and social work professionals so they can overcome other barriers and put other supports in place. You know, Tyler, a full 80% of the families we serve on an annual basis have household incomes of about $15,000 to $10,000 a year. And, you know, on average, there's 3 people in the home. And so you can imagine how difficult it is to be able to afford furniture while you're still keeping up on your bills, while you're still trying to put food on the table, you know, while you're still making your rent payment. And that's where, you know, the value of, you know, our program comes in. But, you know, as you pointed out, you know, if you don't have furniture in your home, it's going to be a very difficult, stressful life. You mentioned just one night of having to, you know, sleep on a floor. And, you know, I remember I was speaking to one of the gentlemen that we helped one time, and, you know, he had nothing when he came to us, and he told me that, you know, he had a jacket, and the jacket would alternate between pillow or blanket, you know, depending on how cold his apartment was that night. And, you know, whether or not it would be better served if he put it under his head or if he put it over himself to keep himself warm enough. And, you know, that's just not a quality of life that, you know, we want our neighbors to live in. And again, you know, if this gentleman is going to obtain a job and hold it down, he's going to need a better night's rest than, you know, sleeping on a floor with his jacket as either his pillow or his blanket, depending on the circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. We're joined by Robert Boyle, the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan, joining us on the Megacast. Again, their website, furniture-bank.org, furniture-bank.org, and their phone number, 248-332-1300, 248-332-1300. On the other side of that, Robert, if somebody is, or someone or some family is wanting to donate some of their furniture from their home, what is the process of initiating that donation to the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan and then getting that eventually donated? You
just started it perfectly, Tyler. They can call us at 248-332-1300 or visit furniture-bank.org. And then once they call us, we're going to get them an appointment on our schedule. And right now we're scheduling about a week or two out. We have a free pickup service if you're putting your donated furniture on either your porch or in your garage. For the essentials that families need to get, you know, get back on their feet, we'll take any of those items. And those are, you know, mattresses and box springs, dining tables and chair sets, sofas, dressers. As I said, we're in desperate need of dressers and other household basics, end tables, nightstands, coffee tables. You know, we'll take all the basics out of your home for only $50 because we need those for local families who are in a tough way. And at the same time, you know, we also have a furniture removal service for items that these families don't need, but you may not want in your house. For example, a china cabinet. You know, you may not want a china cabinet. If you wanted to donate it to us, we don't have much use for it because the families that we're serving have small homes and apartments and they don't have china. So, but for $100, we'll take that china cabinet out of the home for you, and we will put it out in a free community area where anybody locally who has a use for it can take it. And the money that we make that $100 we make taking the china cabinet out of your home, that's going to be used to help families in need. And this way we can collect more of the basics so we can put kids in warm beds at night and make sure that families can live with the stability and dignity that many of us take for granted.
We're joined by Robert Boyle, the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan, joining us on the Megacast. Again, to donate, 248-332-1300, or visit their website at furniture-bank.org, and then you can help families in need right here in our community. It could be your neighbors. It could be your coworkers. They could be anybody in the community. Just because it's out of sight, out of mind, doesn't mean it's not happening. These are issues that are plaguing our community here in Michigan and those all across the U.S. and around the world. So any bit that you can help is certainly appreciated. Robert, at this time, outside of course, the vast increase in need for furniture donations, what are some other needs for your organization that the community could help with, including possible volunteer opportunities, certainly financial donations?
We have, if folks want to come and maybe help us answer phones, we have some people who come in on a regular basis and they enjoy working with, furniture donors and even the clients that we're serving to schedule appointments for them to come in and take their furniture. So there are volunteer opportunities available. Like many organizations, I mean, we need money to support the work that we do. I think the last time I was on your show, I was here talking about a fundraiser. We don't have any on the calendar until the fall, but that is another area, that the trucks don't put fuel in themselves. And as we've all seen, the price of fuel has spiked considerably in recent days. And, 20-foot box trucks take a lot of fuel, and they take a farthing or two to keep in good repair. So monetary donations are always welcome and needed in order to help 2,000 families every year, which is about what we're helping. We're about 6,000 folks in total. And last year, we distributed about 16,000 items to folks who truly needed them. So, with furniture donations and monetary donations, hopefully this year, we'll see that number go up to 2,500 or even 3,000, because already we're on a much higher pace than we were last year in terms of families needing our assistance.
Robert, thank you so much for joining us.
Tyler, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Again, for those that would like to donate, would like to help in any way possible, you can get in contact with the Furniture Bank to make those donations, to volunteer your time to answer phones or to help with moving of these furniture materials by visiting their website, furniture-bank.org. That's furniture-bank.org, or by calling their phone number 248-332-1300, 248-332-1300. We're going to take a break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Coming up next, we'll head down to Detroit, and we'll be speaking with Lori Ward, the Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit, talk about their organization, a fundraiser that now, of course, has just recently passed, but there's more fundraising opportunities and great opportunities for girls and for other kids associated with this organization in Detroit and in the metro area. You're going to want to listen to that. Coming up next, you're watching and listening to the Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around. And I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Joining us now is the Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit. Lori Ward is with us on the Megacast. Lori, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
Pleasure having you on with us. First off, can you tell us about the organization? Tell us about Figure Skating Detroit in Detroit and how this organization began.
Sure, yes. So Figure Skating in Detroit is the only existing branch or chapter from Figure Skating in Harlem, which started 25 years ago, impacting girls of color. And it's more than just skating. It's actually an academic and leadership, girls empowerment program with figure skating. And so they brought the program here in 2016. We started our first program in 2017, enrolling girls ages 6 through 18. And we pride ourselves on and off the ice work with our girls to create the next leaders in the city of Detroit. So we're pretty proud. So the goal isn't to develop Olympic level figure skaters or professional figure skaters out of these girls. It's to provide an activity or a set of activities and academic opportunities that enrich the learning of young people. Yes, but I will say we do have a number of girls coming to us with experience, and some of our girls over the years, and this is year 5 for us, it's a celebratory year. Girls have grown and leveled out of the Learn to Skate basic programming and are ready for more experienced skating opportunities. So we provide that as well. So we're having synchro teams now and getting girls ready for competition. And if they want to go on and want to develop further to possibly become an Olympic hopeful, we want to make sure we cover that as well. So we cover a range of on-ice activities and possibilities for our girls. So what are some of these academic programs and opportunities that are provided? You met, obviously, Figure Skating in Detroit, the figure skating opportunities are a significant part of the program that you provide to these girls. What about the academic side? What sort of opportunities are there? Sure. So off ice, twice a week during our after school program, which is called I Can Excel, we have our girls twice a week working on homework help. We do pre-post testing, tracking math and reading. Girls have to turn in their report cards. In fact, when they come to us wanting to enroll, they have to really be maintaining an A, B in their core curriculum courses. And if they're not, we want to provide help. So there's tutoring. There's enrichment courses that they rotate, such as financial literacy, there's STEM. There's even an arts piece where we make sure our girls are out experiencing, what's going on at the DIA, the museums with arts, and attending shows at the Opera House, such as Romeo and Juliet, the Dance Theater of Harlem, so that music and dance is in there. But yes, we're really making sure that they're building up the academic muscle and are ready for college and career. So we have a college career readiness piece that our high school girls really get involved in, because we want to make sure they have options for post-secondary. So the whole idea of being an entrepreneur, what does that mean? And so we get involved in workshops around that. Our health and fitness. So we have girls off ice fitness investment training, where the girls are dancing, they have bar, it could be African dance, it's Zumba, it's yoga and meditation, kickboxing. So things to really make sure they're healthy and understand what that means, mind, body, and soul. And then the other 2 days during the after school program, they're on the ice. And so they're learning and developing, they're rehearsing for shows. We have 2 big shows during the program year, our winter skating show as well as our spring show. And then we have programming in the summer as well, it's called Summer Dreams. And so we're working with girls in that capacity. And then we have clinics throughout the year where we're able to reach girls. And I'm happy to announce this year we're starting a partnership with Detroit Public School Community Districts to provide skating clinics for both boys and girls, introducing, again, what has not been accessible in their community.
Just how important, or better yet, how much of an impact have you seen, and others that are working with figure skating in Detroit and other organizations that you partner with, how much of an impact on the educational enrichment and the development of these young girls and even the young boys that will soon be having access to these figure skating programs also, how much do these extracurricular opportunities that are taken for granted in so many communities and may not be available to those that are being provided this opportunity, how much of an impact do these have on their young lives?
So huge. The impact is huge because first, the statistics, you go back to statistics telling us the combining academics with an athletic activity or sports has a lot to do with how well they can perform academically. So we pride ourselves in working with our girls as student athletes, so they're students first. So the impact can be huge, and that's through what we see them do in schools when it's time for their report cards, and from what their parents share with us. And then the girls themselves, testimonials with, how our impact has encouraged them to do better in math, has encouraged them to speak up, use their voice. So all of those things definitely contribute. And then in terms of impact, we were, last year, we were featured in a docuseries, National Geographic, hosted by none other than Gal Gadot, the Wonder Woman, actress Wonder Woman, and being a part of that, being one of 6 women that were selected across the world. And we're selected because of our impact on girls, women and younger girls. And so that was a pretty huge, testimony to what we're doing and how our girls are soaring and growing as a result of being in our program. We look at them as champions on and off the ice.
We're joined by Lori Ward, the Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit, joining us on the Megacast. More information about the organization by visiting their website, figureskatingindetroit.org. That is figureskatingindetroit.org. Lori, these programs are extensive. They are providing great opportunities for girls in the Detroit area, and all of this effort, it takes a lot of work from a lot of people, but it also takes a significant financial investment as well. And so you have a fundraiser that's coming up. Your goal is to raise $20,000 to go toward academic programs, field trips, uniforms, equipment, ice time. It's going to happen this weekend, Saturday, March 5th, during the last weekend of skating down at the rink at Campus Martius in Detroit. Can you tell us about this event, what people can expect to experience there, and how their contributions will go to benefit girls in Detroit?
Oh, absolutely. So first and foremost, we are a nonprofit. And so we exist off of, grantors, our foundations and just really generous donor support. So this Saturday, March 5th, is our 2nd annual Skating with the Stars. And we're so happy. And I definitely want to give a huge shout out to the Downtown Detroit Partnership, DDP, for allowing us to be able to use the beautiful ice at Campus Martius. As I stated, this will be year 2 for Skating with the Stars, and we're just so happy and grateful to Downtown Detroit Partnership for their partnership and belief in what we do. And so tickets can be purchased on Eventbrite. It's from 3 to 5:30, and what you can look forward to, gold medalist Meryl Davis will be there. She is our biggest cheerleader. She's on our board, and we just love her. She'll be there. Olympic hopeful Star Andrews will be there. We will have former Miss Teen Michigan, Anissa Sheikh, will be there, providing some musical entertainment. We'll be giving 2 awards. We call them our Trailblazer Awards. And this year's recipient is Kiko Davis, the only Black female bank owner in the United States, and Jared Swallow, who is just super helpful to us. He's a former managing director of Detroit Skating Club, which is also our partner skating rink. We skate there during our after-school program time as well as our summer dreams, and we love them. And so we will be awarding him as well with the Trailblazer Award. He's a once you're an Olympian, you're an Olympian. So he's an Olympic skater, participating in the Olympics, and we're just proud of that relationship. But there'll be cocoa, there'll be entertainment, there'll be speakers, and there'll be skating. And so this is the last weekend of the skating season. And so Campus Marshes, presented by Visit Detroit, is making sure that we have a beautiful space. And if you haven't been down to Campus Marshes, please come down this last weekend. It's just a beautiful, iconic rink. And we're just, again, so grateful and proud that we can be there to have our biggest fundraising event of the year.
More information on figureskatingindetroit.org. We're joined by Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit, Lori Ward, on the Megacast. Lori, Royal Oak native, ice dancer, multiple-time world champion, silver medalist Merrill Davis has been a huge part in figure skating in Detroit since the very beginning. Can you talk about her contributions and talk about what's meant to have somebody with that renowned connection to skating, but also with that sort of commitment to helping give back to the next generation of girls in our local area, and how that's helped not only in building figure skating in Detroit, but help these young girls as well, having that sort of a mentor near them?
Absolutely. And the buzzword, the most important word is commitment. She is definitely committed. So Merrill Davis ventured to help support figure skating in Harlem throughout the years. And once she heard word that they wanted to branch off, figure skating in Harlem looked at a number of cities. And largely because of her influence, because of Merrill's influence, they decided to take a look at Detroit. And what most people may not know is Michigan is a large skating town. You know, people train here, Olympians and Olympian hopefuls come to Michigan to train. And so we have beautiful ice here. And so it was because of her influence why they ended up selecting Detroit. And again, we're the only existing chapter. And so she means the world to us. Her influence, her love and commitment to the girls. She is hands-on with the girls. She'll come and get on the ice with them. He will talk with them, motivate them, as a mentor, as you mentioned. And then she speaks to the world about us. She connects us with so many helpful resources to help us financially meet our budget goals, as well as resources for the girls to help them with those opportunities that I mentioned. So yes, she is definitely our biggest cheerleader and just a dynamic young lady.
We're joined by Lori Ward, the Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit, a nonprofit that you can learn more information about by visiting their website at figureskatingindetroit.org, where you can learn more information also about their upcoming event, 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Saturday, March 5th. That's this coming Saturday down at Campus Marshes in downtown Detroit for Skating with the Stars. Their goal to raise $20,000 to support their programs throughout the remainder of this year. And so, Lori, we talk about Merrill Davis and her impact on figure skating in Detroit, but you don't have to be a multi-time world champion or an Olympic figure skater in order to contribute to a nonprofit organization like Figure Skating in Detroit. If there are people in Detroit or in surrounding areas that would like to get involved and would like to help you out, what are some ways that they can provide that help, either through volunteer opportunities or other methods to figure skating in Detroit?
Yep. So one easy step is going on our website, clicking donate, and every dollar counts, every dime counts. And so those types of donation helps us, as you mentioned earlier, skating equipment, because our girls that come to us, they don't have to pay for their skates and skating equipment and their uniforms and the beautiful show costumes. And so donating online is easy and it's definitely appreciated. But also resources, ice time is expensive. We want to make sure people know that, any resources connected to ice time is definitely appreciated. And volunteering, we have a volunteer form on our website, and that's to volunteer on and off the ice. It takes a group, and I have a dynamic, wonderful group of teachers, tutors. I have a program director, skating director, coaches, our counselors that all make our program that's a year-round program run. And so if you want to get involved to volunteer, you can go to the website, complete that form. You can always reach out to myself or any of our staff if you're interested. But yes, those resources and of time as well as talents is always appreciated.
That more information on volunteer opportunities with Figure Skating in Detroit on the website, figureskatingindetroit.org/volunteer. That's figureskatingindetroit.org/volunteer, or just go to their website top of the page, they have a Get Involved link. You scroll over that and you have a register, donate, volunteer, and we're hiring information there as well. Figureskatingin.Detroit.org. Lori, just another few minutes with you before we'll need to say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that would be important for our audience to know about figure skating in Detroit, or other ways they may be able to help in the future?
Yeah, so I just want to say again, year 5, we are growing. And in order to reach more girls, and that's our goal, our plan is to reach as many girls as we can. And with our partnership with Detroit Public Schools, being able to now provide clinics to introduce boys to skating that could lead them to hockey. And we have a partnership with Detroit PAL, who's running a great hockey program. So we just need help to help us as we grow. We're looking for coaches. We have our synchro team now, and as I mentioned, we're providing more experience skating levels for our girls who are at that point. And so we just need your support so we can keep growing. We're, again, busting out of the seams. We're looking for help, and we want to be able to provide all of our girls and the young men that we will be providing skating clinics with a first-class experience.
Lori, thank you so much for joining us and telling us more about this nonprofit organization.
Thank you.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
as partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
Welcome Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more about the Michigan Megacast by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com, clicking on the Megacast link where you'll find more information about everywhere that we broadcast live and live to tape, including for the entirety of the Michigan Megacast on My Michigan TV, otherwise known as My. civiccentertv.com/Megacast for more information. Joining us now from the Michigan Better Business Bureau is their president and CEO, Melanie Duquesnel, back with us on the Megacast. Melanie, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having us, Tyler.
Appreciate it. So, as we all know, as we've seen over the past nearly 2 weeks at this point, tragedy in Ukraine as the Russian army has launched a full-scale invasion of the sovereign nation of Ukraine, a refugee crisis we haven't seen since World War II. Over 1.5 million people already have fled the country and counting. There is a great need for help for those in Ukraine, and many charities, many organizations across the world are going on the front lines to help those of Ukrainian descent overseas that are fleeing Ukraine, and especially those that are in Ukraine. However, like with any other crisis, like with any other charitable opportunity that people are looking to tap into and to help with the cause of, that also leads to the doors opening for scammers to get out there and take advantage of the generosity of people. Let's start off with what people should be looking out for when they're looking to donate to these organizations that are looking to help those in Ukraine or help those that are helping those in these areas. What should they be looking out for in order to determine that this is a legitimate charity?
So first and foremost, have you ever heard of the charity before? Many people are thinking because it's a Ukrainian need, you may not have heard of the charity. There are global charities out there like American Red Cross. Even though it says American, their Red Cross actually connects on a global scale. So that's just one example. But when you're looking at the charity, do they have the ability to provide the services to the Ukrainians, either at the border or within their country? Were they already there before the war started? Because getting into the country now to provide services and humanitarian aid is really challenging when so many are leaving the country and trying to establish infrastructure for any kind of humanitarian need is going to be daunting right now in light of all the war that's going on.
And so when we see these opportunities to help people across the world, even help people right here in the U.S. pop up, whatever the crisis may be, a natural disaster or a human-made disaster, we do, as I mentioned before, see these scams pop up. So far, even given that it's only been a relatively short amount of time, just under 2 weeks since the invasion of Ukraine began, is the Better Business Bureau seeing a rash of these scam artists begin to make these charity scams related to Ukraine, and just how much of a problem has it already been for consumers?
Well, it hasn't been a real problem yet. It hasn't kind of gotten its sea legs yet, but recognize that it is happening. There are just people that may have not have brought it to our attention. Because we're talking about a foreign country, people think that they have to do things in a very different way. So they may not have realized that they've given personal information. They may not have realized that they have given away their credit card number. So sometimes the return of the bad news has not yet hit because it has only been 2 weeks. But probably the easiest place where these kind of scams pop up is what we affectionately called crowdfunding sites, GoFundMe, those kind of things. What is interesting about GoFundMe, which is a BBB accredited business, we are working with them diligently to make sure that they don't have any replicated pictures that really don't belong to the owner of that new outreach. So when you're looking at a site like a GoFundMe, look at how many times a particular picture may pop up and saying that they're this charity or this family that's trying to do some good work. If that picture multiplies itself more than once, it's a red flag. Step back, do your due diligence, look at who's the one that's organizing this. Is it a national or international charity? What are they doing to, what kind of aid are they providing? And then do some verifications on that group. Step away from the GoFundMe, open up a new browser window, look at what that charity does. And then ask around, ask your friends, go to give.org, which is our sister organization called the Wise Giving Alliance. We accredit charities on 20 standards of trust. And when you're looking at that, we put them through the paces to make sure that they're supposed to do what they advertise that they're doing.
We're joined by Melanie Duquesnel, the president and CEO of the Michigan Better Business Bureau, joining us on the Megacast as we talk about charity scams, and we see these things develop when these do start to develop. You mentioned that some of these scams, we haven't really seen a big problem with them just yet because they haven't quite developed their sea legs, as you said. They haven't really nailed down their strategy and been able to affect a wide range of people. As that does happen, as people have been scammed in the currently or in the future by these nefarious actors, what are some steps that they can take, or what are steps that organizations like yourself and certainly law enforcement can take in order to counteract the actions of these people that are taking advantage of the generosity of others?
Well, first, if you're going to donate money to an organization that you may not have any real connection to, if you have the means to have a separate credit card, never give with a debit card because you're giving them direct access to your checking or savings account. But if you have a separate credit card that has a very low maximum credit amount, let's say $500, and you're willing to potentially lose $500, then you can use that credit card. But when you use a debit card and you leave that debit card open, you run the risk of them coming back to get more money out of that account. So again, the credit card allows you some protections. If in fact you come to find that your money didn't go to the right charity that you thought you were giving to, you can go back to the credit card company and they can attempt, not guarantee, they can attempt to get your money back.
We're joined by Melanie Duquesnel, the president and CEO of the Michigan Better Business Bureau, joining us on the Megacast. And so even some legitimate organizations, some legitimate charities or organizations that will be doing relief work here in the U.S. or around the world with different crises, such as, of course, the invasion of Ukraine and the war that is underway over there in Eastern Europe, some of them will be doing great work, but they'll also not entirely be giving all of their funding that's through donations to that specific work. So when we see claims of 100% will be spent on relief, does that actually mean 100%, or is there a way for consumers that are willing to donate to these organizations to verify whether or not the entirety of their donation is actually going to be going toward what they're donating for?
Historically, the way that a donor can mandate that it goes to a specific cause is to have actually a pretty sizable donation where they are going to put it in an endowment or do something of that sort, where they can really make the donation what they call restricted. But in a general situation where you're just going through a text giving platform or you're donating online, those funds can generally be used, excusing multiple words, general fund, where the charity can use it wherever they need it. When they say that 100% will be spent on relief, it's a red flag, because the cost of getting the materials there, to acquire the materials, the staffing cost, what do they really mean by what 100% of that cost is? And if it does include all that, they may be accurate in their statement, but you have to pick at the points to make sure that they say what they're going to do, or they're going to do what they're going to say, what they say.
We're joined by Melanie Duquesnel, the president and CEO of the Michigan Better Business Bureau, joining us on the Megacast. And so, Melanie, when scams do pop up, how often do these scams develop? Is it usually a group of people? Is it usually individuals that are perpetrating these scams? And just how extensive can these, especially charity scams, end up getting?
Extensive from the charity scam can be a Bernie Madoff, Bernie Madoff went after all kinds of charities and higher education, as well as daycares that were in his community. So the scam can morph itself into something huge. But let's talk about the recent tornado that happened yesterday in Iowa.
Yeah.
You're going to find people that are going to want to donate, want to send clothes, want to send food, and they don't necessarily know how to get it there. That's when going with a more national charity for direction and guidance is really helpful, just to make sure your investment in that charity or in the people of the Ukraine or Iowa get the funds you want them to. You know, it is maddening to donate to something and they haven't used it in the manner in which you had thought they would. So understanding when you go to write the check or you hand them your credit card, what do you really want the funds to go to? The Ukrainian Center in Warren right now is collecting goods and shipping it overseas. Recognize that it's going to take several weeks for those things to get there because they have to go through customs on both sides. We don't know exactly where in Poland, Moldova, wherever the country is outside of the Ukraine, where they're going to be able to set up shop and get these things deployed. So recognize patience is imperative, but also your homework is probably even more important. Just to understand how they're going to do it, where they're going to do it, how long is it going to take, and are you going to get any recognition of your investment? So depending again on how much you donate to a charity, they may send you some pictures of what's going on, how your money's being deployed. And those are really helpful, but it isn't always a guarantee that you're going to have your money going exactly where they say.
And that's all the more reason why it's really important before you're donating to a charity or a nonprofit that you're not entirely familiar with, that you do your research. Even if it isn't a legitimate organization, you want to make sure that you know what you're getting involved with. So for those that are interested in donating, for those that are in need of doing that research, where are some good places for them to start, Melanie?
So we have a list on give.org/news/wisegiving. And if you were just to go to give.org and put Ukraine, we have a list of about 20 accredited charities that are really focused on Ukrainian relief. So as an example, looking at this, the AmeriCares Foundation, Care USA, Catholic Relief Services, Mercy Corps, Salvation Army, Operation USA, Save the Children. And that there's quite a few more after that. But we've already accredited these charities. We have verified through our standards of trust with them that they do what they say they're going to do and how they're going to do it. So maybe start there because we've done the homework for you. But if you have a friend through Facebook that all of a sudden says, hey, so-and-so is saying we should donate through here, take a step back, look at a different way to do it, because sadly, at least 60% of the time, I want to say 9 times out of 10, but I'm not 100% sure on that one, but at least 60% of the time, you don't know where that money went. You can't verify it. There's no paper trail, and you can't make sure that what you want to have done was done.
We're joined by Melanie Duquesnel, the president and CEO of the Michigan Better Business Bureau, joining us on the Megacast. Of course, the website she's mentioning through Better Business Bureau partnerships is give.org. Go to give.org. Top of that page, there's going to be a link to news. If you go to there at the top of the page, on that next page over, you'll have a link at the top that says Give Wisely. It'll give information on how to do that research, how to look into some of these organizations you may be donating to, and that page she mentioned about donating to causes in support of the Ukrainians, both in Ukraine currently and those who have fled the country, to make sure you're donating to accredited charities. That's give.org. You can also learn more information from the Better Business Bureau directly at bbb.org. Melanie, here in the state of Michigan, outside of these charity scams at this time, are there any other common scams that we're seeing afflicting consumers in the state of Michigan that people should be aware of?
Well, it's that time of year. It's called the IRS tax scam. We're all getting our taxes together. given it to our accountants or trying to do it on our own, and out of the blue you get the call from a tax man or woman saying that you're delinquent. And it's all driven on fear, hoping that, for goodness sakes, you're going to be just a little uncertain and you're going to go pay for your taxes with a gift card. The IRS never will ask you to pay for your taxes with a gift card. Additionally, the IRS never will call you and demand immediate payment. So the IRS always starts with what I affectionately call snail mail. If they have a problem with your taxes, they have a couple of questions about your tax return, they're going to send you a letter, a regular old letter. And then you're going to have a direct person to contact, and you know the system on which that all will occur. When you get out of the blue, and it actually comes through as text messages too. So be aware that they don't care if it's your cell phone or your home phone. And sometimes they'll even send you an email, because their intention is to overwhelm their email systems or overwhelm the phone system and find that one person that is just a little unsure to, excuse the expression, but pull the trigger and go get those gift cards to pay their taxes. They're never going to pay their taxes that way. They're paying somebody else. So even though the phone number may look like it's from the IRS, don't believe it, because caller ID in this particular situation can be fibbed, can be flat out lying to you. So you want to make sure that if the IRS does call, say thank you, I will call you guys back, and then start the process over directly. Go to the IRS website, irs.gov, and they have contact means through that, and then start it that way. Do not engage anybody on the telephone for the IRS.
What's the IRS going to do with a gift card anyway? You gotta think about that. What do they need a gift card for? Maybe
they had some presents they needed to give. Maybe it's a baby shower or a wedding. Or
here's the present you give to those IRS officials that are asking for your gift card. You take the phone, you hang up on them. There's your present. Melanie, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else at this time that we haven't discussed that would be important for Michiganders to be considering at this moment?
Just if you have any questions, give us a call. We can walk you through anything. So especially robocalls are coming. If you get a robocall, hang up. There's no value in a robocall these days that I am aware of, unless it's your DTE or Consumers Energy is because you've got no power. But that being said, just if you have any questions, give us a call. You can reach us Monday through Friday from 8 until 4:30. So, we're here. We can listen to any and all problems, and we're more than willing to help you get through it.
Melanie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can learn more information, keep up to date on scams, on other information, and a lot of helpful information as well across the board on businesses in Michigan and common issues across the board in the U.S. by visiting the Better Business Bureau's website at bbb.org. Again, bbb.org. And, of course, for information on legitimate charities and avoiding charity scams, give.org, also suggested by the Better Business Bureau. We're going to take a break here on the Michigan Megacast. Got an exciting last 40 minutes or so of the program coming up. Next, we'll be speaking with Tanya Smith from the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee. Then at the bottom of the hour, we'll speak with Rick Bloom of Bloom Advisors. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Michigan Megacast.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Joining us now is the Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit. Lori Ward is with us on the Megacast. Lori, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
A pleasure having you on with us. First off, can you tell us?
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Joining us now is Tanya Smik. She is a Ukrainian student at the College for Creative Studies in Detroit and is also a member of the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee of Michigan. Joining us now on the Oakland County Megacast. Tanya, thank you for being with us. Appreciate having you on. So first off, we're about a week, at this point, 9 days into Russia's sudden invasion of Ukraine. As you continue to see, and of course you were not born in Ukraine, but you are of Ukrainian descent, you have a Ukrainian background, and so this is something that is close to home for you, of course, being part of the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee of Michigan. It's something that you clearly are passionate about. So now we're about a week in. Things continue to develop. Russia continues to persist. They're now targeting civilians directly, which is a war crime. What are your continued, what's your continued reaction, and what emotion do you and others on the committee feel as this crisis continues on and really continues to escalate, with Russia now targeting civilian targets and critical infrastructure as well in Ukraine?
It's been extremely, extremely concerning, to say the least. I mean, many of us, whether we were born there and came here, or whether we were born here with parents who were born here and greater, I mean, we're all feeling the effects of this as a community. And I think it's important to point out that at this point, you know, the term crisis and invasion, it's beyond that. It's a war, and it's a genocide that's happening over there. They're targeting innocent civilians, and absolutely, just like you said, this is a war crime.
Yeah, there seems to not be any sort of endgame motivation behind this. When you're targeting civilians, that's one thing. That is a war crime. That's heinous and that's disgusting. But you're also targeting major cities, major buildings, government areas, critical infrastructure, and in some cases completely leveling it, which seems to lead one to believe that this is personal. This is entirely about toppling a group of people that are close to your border, that are directly bordering your nation, because you are paranoid about their relationship with some other nations that are either neutral toward you or open adversaries. As this has continued on, as this invasion, this war, this genocide has continued on the Russian part, on the behalf of Ukrainians, the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Team, what has their continued reaction been here, and particularly in speaking to our leadership at the state level and the federal level, and encouraging the American response to this threat, the continued threat on an ally of ours?
So in recent days, we've expanded our committee. So we have a lot more people filling roles as our group is getting larger and well-known. We're continuing to provide resources for people who live in Michigan and America, so they can properly donate to vetted sources and donate their goods or funds to these reputable sources so that they know where their money is going. It's important to point out that there is a lot of propaganda even circulating in the U.S., so it's important to be aware of what is proper over there and what is proper news these days. And our goal really is to just keep people informed and let the population, especially in America here, know that this is something that is going to affect us here eventually, if it hasn't already.
So have you or others recently on your committee, have you been in contact with those that are still in Ukraine or are attempting to flee Ukraine and to nations that are accepting refugees regularly? I mean, we've already heard in just this past week, over 1 million people already have fled to other nations as refugees because of this heinous act of violence from Russia. Have you been in contact with anyone? And as things have continued to escalate, how have their feelings shifted, being in the thick of things and being directly in danger?
Well, so a lot of us are in contact with people who are trying to flee. I know last time I checked, we do have a group of legal people, of attorneys who are on board for helping people get their visas, get their green cards, get refugee status in order so that they can come join their family members if their family members live in the United States. A lot of people are fleeing to Poland, Hungary, Romania, and other countries in Europe just because that visa status, it takes a lot shorter of time. So we're really right now trying to urge the United States to just quicken the process to open its borders for Ukrainian refugees. And actually, I'm personally headed out to Romania tomorrow morning to go assist with refugees on the border city of Civic.
We're joined by Tanya Smik, a Ukrainian student at the College for Creative Studies in Detroit, also a member of the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee of Michigan, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. And so we mentioned the communication between the committee and leadership in the state of Michigan, and we have to look also at the response from the United States of America to this to the war in Ukraine that's been perpetrated by the Russian government, a government that's continued to have negotiations both with the Ukrainian government and with other allied governments in NATO and in nations that are surrounding Russia but are not necessarily in NATO. And it seems like nothing is coming of that. In the U.S., the reaction continues to be more sanctions on the Russian government, on Russian banking institutions, on oligarchs that are directly connected and are bankrolling Vladimir Putin and his regime. Do you believe, and do others on your committee believe, that this response from the federal government, especially as things have continued to escalate in major cities and even in smaller cities along the way to places like Kyiv in Ukraine, has been enough from the U.S. government?
It's been something. It is not, honestly, it's not enough. It's gotten to the point where Russian forces are taking charge and exploding these major energy sources in Ukraine, and we've reached a point where we need more than just sanctions. Sanctions are wonderful for toppling an economy and targeting people involved in an economy, but at this point, with the status of war, with the pending status of genocide, it's reached a greater importance than just sanctions.
And so what more do you and members of your committee believe or are at this point requesting of our leaders here in Michigan that are representative in the federal government that could have influence on the federal government to provide to Ukrainians on the front lines, considering that the crisis continues to escalate, the violence continues to escalate from the Russians? They are taking over now critical infrastructure. Last night, they opened fire and set fire to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, and then eventually took over that power plant. They already did take over the disaster site at Chernobyl nuclear power plant as well. So what more is being requested of the U.S. government by your committee and by others similar, based on the communications that you have had with those that are still in Ukraine?
Well, I think it's important to note that Russia is one of the world's greatest superpowers. And the United States also has the status of being a superpower. And a lot of Ukrainian Americans, we're trying to urge our government to take greater action to do what a world superpower would do and provide greater aid, quicker aid, and promoting just more manpower in Ukraine.
We're joined by Tanya Smik, a Ukrainian student at the College for Creative Studies in Detroit, also a member of the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee of Michigan, joining us on the Megacast. And we talk about those that are fleeing the country, that are attempting to seek refugee status in neighboring countries, and especially in places like the United States, where there are large pockets of Ukrainian American populations, including right here in Michigan. In the past couple of days, refugee transport routes have been negotiated by the Ukrainian and the Russian governments, by the United Nations as well. But we talk about the refugee crisis. 1 million people in a week sounds like a lot, but Ukraine is a very large country, and these major cities continue to be under siege by the Russian government in frankly brutal fashion. How much quicker does the refugee transport from Ukraine need to be to really truly protect those that are sheltering in place right now in Ukraine and need safe passage out of the country as Russia continues to show less and less regard for the lives of Ukrainians?
I mean, the situation there is dire. There's plenty of people who, over there, they're receiving propaganda from other cities saying, oh, it's okay, it's quiet here, which is absolutely not the case. And the awareness over there needs to be pushed, and the efforts over here need to be pushed further to promote people to come over to seek safety, because at this point you're dealing with life and death, and these are individuals, these are human lives that they need to be able to continue their precious lives.
And it affects those in Ukraine, certainly, and it affects their families. And there's such a great population of Ukrainian Americans right here in Michigan, right here in the Oakland County area and southeastern Michigan as well. For those that may not be aware, just how extensive is that Ukrainian American population right here in Michigan?
To my knowledge, there's approximately 40,000 Ukrainians in the state of Michigan, and about 20,000 of those are concentrated in the metro area of Detroit.
Yeah, and so it's a significant population here in the metro area. We've seen great shows of support. Thousands of people showed downtown last weekend on Sunday in a rally to show support for Ukrainians and especially for their Ukrainian American friends, neighbors, colleagues, and other acquaintances in the area who are also, in some ways, and it pales in comparison to those who are physically in Ukraine right now, but are also suffering through witnessing this heinous act of violence from Vladimir Putin and his tyrannical government in Russia. And people want to show the support. They want to provide support to Ukrainians, certainly, but also to their Ukrainian American families here in Michigan and in the U.S. as this situation continues, as this war continues. At this moment in time, what are the best ways that those in our communities here in Oakland County and in the state of Michigan can support those in Ukraine?
The best ways that these people here can support Ukraine, we have plenty of resources on our website. You can go visit the crisis response website at awry.org, and on there will be plenty of resources where you can contribute financial donations to reputable sources, provide physical materials as donations. We currently have a drive going on in Warren for certain materials that are being requested over there that are getting more difficult to find as the war continues. And honestly, just supporting the Ukrainians that you know. I mean, a lot of us, we're experiencing emotions that we've never felt before. We're experiencing a situation that is so emotionally traumatic. It's nothing in comparison to what they're dealing with over in Ukraine, but still, where the diaspora population is being strongly, strongly affected by this. And just checking in with your Ukrainian friends, your Ukrainian neighbors, it really goes a long way.
We're joined by Tanya Smik, a Ukrainian student at the College for Creative Studies, also a member of the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee of Michigan. As she mentioned, you go to their website, you can learn a lot more information. You can find resources to continue to understand the context of what's going on in Ukraine right now, what has led up to this illegal invasion and, frankly, the war crimes being committed by Russia in Ukraine, as well as ways that you can help directly right now, take action and donate to provide support through the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee of Michigan. UACrisisresponse.org is the website. Again, UACrisisresponse.org for more information from the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee of Michigan. Tanya, just a couple more minutes with you before we'll need to say goodbye today. At this time, anything else that people should be keeping in mind about the ongoing war in Ukraine, the way that they can support Ukrainian Americans in our community, or how they can get involved that they would like to support the Ukrainian American Crisis Response Committee of Michigan in its response and its encouragement of further response from our government in Michigan and across the U.S.?
In terms of helping out directly, we have a volunteer application on our website that you are able to fill out if you feel that you have any business, legal, language skills that we might be able to use. And then just in terms of the situation, stay aware of what's going on. It is a very, very complicated situation, but please do your best to stay aware of the situation. This is going to affect more than just Ukraine. This is affecting the world at a global scale. Stay aware, be aware of what propaganda might be circulating, and focus on myth busting and making sure that you and the people around you understand the situation.
Tanya, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about this very complicated crisis that's affecting millions of people around the world, including those here in Michigan.
Thank you.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
Our next guest is a financial advisor from Bloom Advisors, and you'll also find his Money Matters column for Hometown Life newspapers online at hometownlife.com. Rick Bloom is back with us once again on the Megacast. Rick, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Tyler. I appreciate it.
Appreciate having you on. So we are just approaching the end of the month of February, which means we're getting that much closer. We're about halfway through the year to the point where our taxes, both federal and statewide, are due. And of course, some people will go at their taxes on their own. They'll file them themselves. Some will use will use a CPA. Others will use online tax services such as and there's a number of them. There's H&R Block. There's TurboTax. Those are kind of the more common ones. But what they may not be aware of is that there is a free option through the IRS as well, the IRS Free File program. Can you tell us a little bit about this program and what ways it can help people as they're filing their taxes?
Sure, and this really is a great program. Many people would say, wait a minute, I don't want the IRS doing my taxes because they'll take everything against me, but that's not what happens. This is a consortium of companies that work with the IRS together to start this program. So what you're actually doing is tapping into the software of some of these companies. Same software that you could pay for. If you go through the IRS's program, you could do it for free. And so it's a very good program, and lots of people should take advantage of it. So what the requirements are, and the requirements are a little different for each of the companies that participate, but basically if you make $73,000 or less, if that's your income or less than that, you're going to qualify for at least one of these programs to be able to do your tax return for free. And you link directly through the IRS's website. You go to the irs.gov, click on their free file program, and you'll see all the programs that you can take advantage of. And the nice thing is some of the programs will also allow you to do your state return for free. So it's a great way, and the great majority of people in this country qualify for this program. They just don't know about it. And so if you're computer literate, you understand things on the computer, and you have relatively straightforward tax situations, W-2s, maybe some 1099s, definitely you should look at this program. It'll save you money, because nothing worse than having to do your taxes and then pay someone $400 or $500 to do it. Here you can do it for free, and you get just as good a result as if you paid someone.
And so, Rick, as people are approaching either filing their taxes or getting their documents together, there's a lot more to consider this year than there has been in previous years because of so many different tax credits that were provided because of the pandemic, certainly because of federal stimulus checks. What are some of those considerations that people need to be very aware of and be on top of as they're preparing their documents for filing taxes and as they actually go to file with the IRS and with the state?
Well, particularly this year, for those people who received a child tax credit and they started paying those in July, and they're actually for your return, they were prepaying your credit to you. Well, you got a letter, and I believe it was Form 6419. And it is so important that you keep that form and for tax purposes, because that's going to spell out how much of a credit you've already received and how much of a credit you're entitled to. So to me, that's one of the most important things. But I would tell everyone, if you get a tax document, whether it's a K-1, a 1099, you need to save those documents for tax purposes. It's better to save more than to save less. And everyone's going to, that has, let's say, a bank account's going to get a 1099. If you want to reduce your audit risk, make sure you file accurate tax returns. And that means don't forget one of those 1099s, because they will catch you and it will lead to additional scrutiny.
We're joined by Rick Bloom, financial advisor at Bloom Advisors, joining us on the Megacast. You can also read his Money Matters column at Hometown Life newspapers by visiting hometownlife.com. And so, as people are also considering the ways that they're filing their taxes this year, of course, people are trying to take as many deductions as they can possibly take, although, of course, doing so legally. There are some that always will tend to fall through the cracks, though. What are some of those potential claims that people can make that may fall through the cracks, but also save them money as they're preparing their taxes?
And this is one for sure. You know, first of all, because of the tax law change a couple of years ago, most people no longer itemize their deductions. They take the standard deduction, which is generally better for them. However, if you're charitable in nature and you make charitable contributions, if you don't itemize your deductions, in the past you didn't get a deduction. That's not true for this year. So this year, if you're married, you can take $600 as a deduction for charitable contributions, even if you take the standard deduction. And for a single person, that is $300. And so that is something that people forget about all the time, because they say, I'm not itemizing my deductions, so therefore I can't take a charitable contribution. Well, you can, as long as it's a cash contribution. Make sure you save your receipt. It makes things easier. Now, on the downside is, last year we had an exemption of over $10,000 for unemployment income. Unfortunately, that was a one-time hit. So this year, you do have to pay tax on your unemployment benefits, where last year most people didn't. This year they have to. And also, just as a reminder, if you're an employee and you've been working at home, most likely, in the great majority of cases, you're no longer allowed to take a home office deduction. Now, if you have your own business and you're working at home, that's a little different if you're self-employed. But if you're an employee, it's nearly impossible to take a home office deduction these days, and most people shouldn't even go that route.
We're joined by Rick Bloom, financial advisor at Bloom Advisors, joining us on the Megacast. He's also a columnist at Hometown Life newspapers. You can learn more information about his Money Matters column by visiting hometownlife.com. And in those columns, you often will take questions from your readers. You recently had a question from a reader that you had a pretty quick answer to about filing taxes, asking, why do you actually need to file a tax return? They take taxes out of my paycheck for the state level. They take taxes out of my paycheck at the federal level. They know how much money I'm making. They know how much I owe. Why don't they just send me the bill? Why do I have to file taxes? And you had a pretty quick answer about what happens if you don't.
Look at, we're all citizens of this great country, and we have obligations as being citizens. And one of those obligations is we have to file tax returns. If you don't file tax returns, it's going to cause you more problem down the road. Not only can there be substantial financial penalties, but there's been numerous people that have gone to jail for not filing their taxes. And, it's funny, every year at this time you hear someone says, well, constitutionally, you don't have to file taxes, and if you put this on your return, they can't tax you. All that stuff is bunk. It is totally useless. And you can't fall for that, because one thing people have to realize, Tyler, is that you and I are responsible for our own tax return. So if there's mistakes on our tax return, ultimately we signed it, we're responsible. So, you know, people that think you can do these gimmicks and, you know, say the Constitution, don't fall for it, because you always see tax protesters end up in jail. In fact, I got a funny story for you. This is about 20 years ago. There was a guy who wrote a book about you don't have to pay taxes. And he spelled it out the whole bit. And he says, you know, he doesn't the whole bit. Well, he got audited by the IRS. And he made a big deal about the IRS audited me and they couldn't get me on anything. Well, the long and short of the story is the reason why they didn't get him on everything, because he actually did file his tax returns and they were accurate. And his argument in court was, well, I didn't tell people that I didn't file my taxes. I said, I don't, you know, do this. I told people they don't have to. And, you know, they play these games. Don't fall for this. We have obligations as citizens. And I'll tell you this, Tyler, I don't know what gets people more, less sleep at night than worrying that the IRS is going to come knocking. No one wants them come knocking at their door, sending them letters. You'll sleep better at night if you file fair, you know, accurate tax returns.
And that's the thing too, and we've talked about this before also, they also don't want to be coming after you. They're not looking forward to auditing individuals or to auditing businesses and going through that process. It's a hassle for them as much to investigate people that are dodging taxes or that are misleading in their tax returns, as much as it is a hassle for people to navigate being audited by the IRS.
That's right. And, you know, look at it. You can do everything right and still be audited. That's the nature of our system. But you're going to increase your audit risk if you take phony deductions, if you don't report income, and those type of audits can be a lot different than other audits. And so it just makes sense to file your tax returns, do it accurately. And let me also add, a lot of people, because of life in general, they find they can't get their tax return done on time. Well, that's not a problem, because we have what are known as extensions, and you can get an automatic 120-day extension to file your return. And you fill out Form 4868, you send it in, it's automatic. However, and this is what confuses people, it's an extension of time to file your return, not to pay your taxes. So your taxes are still due. So for those people that are going to do an extension, you may have to guesstimate your tax liability and make an estimated payment. But filing extensions are not a problem, and they don't increase your audit risk. So if you're not going to be able to do your return on time, file an extension, but guesstimate your tax liability so you don't get hit with any penalties down the road.
We're joined by Rick Bloom, a financial advisor with Bloom Advisors, joining us on the Megacast, also the author of Money Matters column at Hometown Life newspapers. More information, hometownlife.com, to read his articles about taxes and other topics as well. Another subject you wrote about recently is prenuptial agreements. Who should be getting a prenuptial agreement, and what goes into a quality prenup?
Well, I think that people that get married later in life need to look at prenuptial agreements. Business owners need to look at prenuptial agreements. And also people that have accumulated assets, need to look at prenuptial agreements. And it used to be in the old days, it was always for second marriages, but that's not true anymore. It's also for first marriages. And people say to me all the time, well, Rick, we're getting married because of love. Why do we need this? Well, you need it because the reality of life, people get married out of love and then they fall out of love. And what a prenuptial agreement does is try to make the whole divorce process much easier, less legal fees involved, the whole bit. Now, one of the mistakes people make, Tyler, is they wait to do a prenuptial agreement till the day before the wedding. And then the one party, gives it to the other. And those aren't enforceable. Typically, each party should have their own attorney, And they should do it at least a couple months before the wedding so everyone has time to read the document, make changes, make adjustments. But they can make the divorce process much easier. And particularly if you're a small business owner, you don't want your business tied up in legal proceedings the whole bit. A prenuptial agreement can prevent that. So I am big fans. Now, if someone was getting married, they're 21 and they're just starting out, no. But when you see people, and we see it a lot of days, people getting married in their 40s and 50s, they're business owners, they have children from other marriages, they really need to consider a prenup agreement.
And Rick, lastly, we talk often when you're on this program about investing. You write often about investing. There are many common mistakes that you've listed and others have listed for those that are investing out in the market today and in the future. Those include not having a game plan, not understanding the risks, and not having a diversified portfolio. Can you touch on some of the risks of each of those mistakes, and what are ways people can navigate either around them, if not be able to avoid them, of course, altogether?
Well, when I talk about that you have to have a game plan, I compare it to going on vacation. When I go on a vacation, I don't pack first and then decide where I'm going. Usually I decide where I'm going, what I want to do, and then I pack accordingly. So one of the mistakes most people do is they start picking investments, but they have no idea why they're investing. So if you're investing for 6 months down the road, it's a total different investment than if you're talking about retirement 20 years down the road. And so I tell people, more important than focusing on your investments is to focus on your game plan. Because if you don't know why you're investing, you're going to make mistakes. So I always think it's the first step, goals and objectives. Know why you're investing. Understanding risk is so important because people automatically say, well, the stock market's risky. I'll go in the bank because it's conservative. Well, that's not the case because money in the bank can be very aggressive, particularly you take a young person, maybe someone in their 20s just starting off. If they invest their money in the bank and get their whopping 1% return, they're not keeping up with the increased cost of living. It won't make a big difference over any 1 year, but if you go 10, 20, 30 years down the road, that money is evaporated in value and your costs have risen. So understanding the different types of risk. Stock market has risk, markets go up and down, and we've seen it go down recently. However, people also have to look at purchasing power risk. Purchasing power risk is really an inflation risk. We all know that 10 years ago, things were cheaper than they are today. If your money doesn't keep up with the increased cost of living, you're falling behind. So investors, when they get excited about investing, the market's doing well, they want to invest in what's hot. That's not the way, that's gambling. What you do is you set your goals and objectives and you really look at risk. And one of the things that when you diversify your portfolio, you're having different risks in the portfolio. So not all your risk is the stock market risk. So you diversify. And within the stock market, large companies, small company, international companies spread risk out. And
big thank you to Rick Bloom and all of our guests on today's edition of the Megacast. You can find all of our full episodes and each individual interview, including all the interviews from today's edition of the program, on our website, civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Big thank you as well to our crew, Calvin Brown, our technical director, the king of television himself, Larry Nyland, our producer, our Zoom producer, Jared Clark, out of the office of My Michigan TV, as well as Maddie Mustian at Master Control, helping us both on and off the air every single day. We've got a lot of great programming coming up for you throughout the rest of the afternoon here on My Michigan TV. It's Steve Leto Live coming up next, and then at 1 o'clock, it is Larry and Maddie Live. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m.